Feel free to check out my TeePublic after the video. This is part 2 of a 2-part super video. Be sure to go watch the first part on D-Man 1954's channel, then you can come back to this one. And before I continue, there are massive spoilers for Godzilla King of the Monsters up ahead. Part 1 of this collaboration ended with D-Man mentioning the use of the Oxygen Destroyer, a weapon that was first used in the original Godzilla. This results in dead fish ascending to the water's surface, much like how the Oxygen Destroyer is seen killing the fish in the first film. And much like the first film, this results in Godzilla being incapacitated to some degree, and is thought to be dead like in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. We see Ghidorah regenerate one of his heads, kinda like a Hydra, but one head just comes out instead of two. As Ghidorah roars at the top of the volcano in Mexico, it summons Titans from outposts 55, 67, 75, and 91. These are also references to years Godzilla films were released. In this case, Godzilla Raids Again, Son of Godzilla, Terror of Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah in that order. Plus, this shot of Ghidorah does seem to have some biblical undertones within it, since Ghidorah is compared to that of a false god/king, as a cross is placed before it. These religious undertones are more present in Godzilla the Planet Eater. Alan Jonah references Daniel 6:21, which reads, "Long live the king." Ghidorah's call does end up disturbing Skull Island. However, it is confirmed that Kong is unaffected by it, as he shows no concern for the natural order. Dr. Brooks from Kong's Skull Island makes a cameo and is seen along with Dr. Ling, who is the twin sister of Dr. Chen, which of course is a reference to the Shobijin, and is also the MonsterVerse's version of that, since these twins do have a connection to Mothra, as confirmed by Michael Dougherty, but more on that later. As Mothra hatches from her cocoon, we see a Tokyo SOS-esque shot of the moon with some sparks. We also hear Mothra's theme as well as her Showa cry. The design on Mothra's wings are confirmed to be based on Godzilla's eyes, which ties the two as guardians of the Earth, and her wings can also emit bioluminescent rays. Back to the whole twin situation, Dr. Chen grew up on Infant Island, the home of Mothra in the older films, and is supposed to be where she originated from back in 1961, which is also the year the first Mothra film was released. There are 4 generations of Dr. Chen's lineage, which consists of twins, much like how there are 4 generations of the Shobijin, being the ones from the Showa series, Godzilla vs. Mothra, Tokyo SOS, and Final Wars. Also, it is explained how the origins of the Titans are reminiscent to that of GMK, in which they have strong ties to the Earth which lasted for centuries. And they were even worshipped and are tied with legends such as dragons, the phoenix, and so on. Even GMK director Shusuke Kaneko acknowledges these similarities. However, the one thing that is different is that King Ghidorah is heavily implied to be extraterrestrial, an alien if you will, much like his Showa incarnation. Back in Kong's Skull Island, Bill Randa says that there will never be a more screwed up time in Washington, but alas, Washington gets really screwed up. There was also the moment where he says that people who believe in aliens are nuts, and yet an alien space dragon ends up finding its way to Earth. One thing that caught me by surprise was how they used footage from the San Diego Comic-Con 2012 Godzilla 2014 mood piece that was presented to not only Hall H, but to executives at Warner Brothers to try and get some backing on the film. Rodan bows to Ghidorah, acknowledging him as the Alpha, a relationship seen in numerous animals like dogs, gorillas, and so on. Pandora's box is referenced in the context that the presence of Ghidorah unleashed all kinds of monsters around the world. The world always belonged to them is a variation of lines spoken by Brooks and Randa from Skull Island. Mothra is officially known as the Queen of the Monsters in this universe. As the Mothra theme plays again, she makes calls similar to that of a whale as she is starting to communicate with Godzilla, which is also referred to as a song, like the Mothra song. Godzilla is reviving Gamera style at the Earth's core, which builds upon Dr. Serizawa's theory from 2014. It's also noted that Godzilla has to move lower into the ground to chase the Earth's natural resources of radiation. The symbiotic relationship between Mothra and Godzilla is one that Serizawa hopes to form with Godzilla. Ghidorah is able to cause Category 6 hurricanes, which goes back to him being able to create storms the world has never experienced. Mothra seeking Godzilla's help to fight Ghidorah is reminiscent to when she does the same to him and Rodan back in Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster.
Oh, Godzilla, what terrible language!
We see Serizawa's watch again, which belonged to his father and is stuck on the time Hiroshima was bombed in 1945. The Hollow Earth is explored a bit more in this film as we see an ancient undersea temple, which could be a reference to Atlantis or the Mu Empire from the Toho film Atragon, but Godzilla is worshipped instead of Manda. There's a callback to Fort Brody as there's a vessel named the USS Brody fending off Titans, and unlike 2014, the city where the climax is being held is evacuated. This film is also the first time the "My God, Zilla" joke is used, which is a terrible but popular joke among the fanbase. And here's a very interesting one. Much like in the original Godzilla, Dr. Serizawa sacrifices his life to save the Earth. But this time it's reversed. In the original, Godzilla is killed, but here Godzilla is revived by a nuclear missile, with Serizawa's last words to him being "Goodbye, old friend," which is also the name of the track that plays in the scene. This is also one of the more rare occasions where a human actually touches Godzilla, most notable instance being Sugimori in Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. And during Serizawa's sacrifice, a choir is heard, much like how Prayer for Peace plays at the end of the first Godzilla. And as the missile goes off, we see a statue of Pazuzu from The Exorcist. Also, Godzilla is powered up by a nuclear missile and emerges from underwater as the Godzilla theme plays, much like in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Godzilla and Mark both learn mutual respect in this moment as it completes the arc of Mark, I swear I did not mean for that to rhyme, and builds on Godzilla's, with Godzilla remembering him, demonstrating his intelligence. Mark shouting "Nobody move" in Godzilla's presence is likely a callback to Jurassic Park. The key to the orca being a mixture of Godzilla and bioacoustics ties everything together as it represents the key to coexistence. Ghidorah is referred to as Moe, Larry, and Curly, the Three Stooges, which references the monster's multiple personalities. Serizawa's "let them fight" line is mentioned, but this time, instead of letting them fight, Mark suggests that it's time that they join the fight. Ghidorah's iconic "bitty bitty bitty" is heard as he flies to Boston. Whenever Ghidorah fires his gravity beams, the middle head fires first. Godzilla fires his atomic breath in the dark at King Ghidorah and cuts to him making an entrance is very similar to his entrance in Terror of Mechagodzilla. The Battle in Boston track mixes together all the other monster themes from the film. Godzilla's Shower War is what kicks off the climax. Here, Godzilla fights alongside the military, which is kinda like Godzilla vs. Hedorah, but that time, it was only with those electricity panels. The original Godzilla march is heard as the military march, much like how it was in the first Godzilla. Godzilla is referred to as a lizard, like in Godzilla Final Wars, and Godzilla was an actual lizard back in 1998. Godzilla is so juiced from that missile Serizawa detonated that he will reach critical mass, a term from the video game Godzilla Unleashed, which also refers to Godzilla going into meltdown, like in Godzilla vs. Destroya, as well as one of the early drafts of Godzilla 2014. Mark has two moments that call back to the film's opening scene, which basically comes down to him looking for his child in the middle of a Godzilla fight. Ghidorah definitely acts more serpentine-like during his bout with Godzilla, even wrapping his heads around him like a snake. Dr. Chen seemingly summons Mothra to battle as the monster comes in, webbing two of Ghidorah's heads to a skyscraper. Rodan comes in to battle Mothra, marking the first time the two monsters ever fought. Godzilla tackles Ghidorah through said skyscraper as it collapses on them both. This time, Godzilla is able to take it. Ghidorah powers himself up via power generator like in Kong back in 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla, and releases an insane amount of lightning from his wings like in Rebirth of Mothra 3. Godzilla's scars from the prequel comic Godzilla Aftershock are present. When Mothra stabs Rodan with her stinger, he makes the same noise the female Muto makes when Godzilla bites her shoulder back in 2014. Ghidorah lifts Godzilla from the ground like in the Planet Eater. Godzilla falling from the sky does resemble the Halo jump from 2014 a bit. Ghidorah biting down onto Godzilla to drain his energy is reminiscent to when Kaiser Ghidorah did the same in Final Wars and is also like the Planet Eater. Mothra sacrificing herself to help an ally is common in the older films, mainly in GMK and Tokyo SOS, but here it's a parallel to GMK, but the roles are reversed. Instead of sacrificing herself for Ghidorah, she sacrifices herself for Godzilla. When Mothra explodes, her silhouette forms an angel. Mothra's energy flowing into Godzilla as a means to revive him is very similar to when Rodan did the same back in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. This of course results in Fire Godzilla, the MonsterVerse's version of Burning Godzilla, in which Godzilla is glowing orange, which is also like in the anime trilogy. Earlier, Dr. Chen says that dragons often bring redemption, and later Emma is redeemed as she basically gets herself killed by Ghidorah to save the other main characters later on. And on top of that, the track that plays is titled Redemption. Upon death, Emma quotes Jonah Allen's "Long Live the King" line, but this time it is referring to Godzilla rather than Ghidorah. Godzilla also has his nuclear pulse from the 90s, and you can also hear Mothra's cry and see her wings each time it is released. Godzilla's fatality this time around consists of destroying Ghidorah's wings like in 1991, then his right and left heads, and stomps on his chest with his nuclear pulse. Then wrestles around with the middle head in his mouth, destroying it with atomic breath. Ghidorah's middle head being the last thing to remain alive demonstrates the power of his regenerative capabilities, which is similar to that of a rattlesnake. This moment is followed up with Bradley Whitford saying, "Good thing he's on our side," with Dr. Chen adding, "For now," which does seem to foreshadow that Godzilla will be on his own terms in the future. We then see all these Titans bowing down to Godzilla as he lets out a roar, for he is King of the Monsters. The end. But wait, there's more. During the credits, we see tons of newspaper snippets that honestly deserve a video on their own. D-Man will be making one in the future anyway, but the ones that really stick out are how the monsters are essentially fixing the environment, the public now knowing about Kong and Skull Island, as well as the construction of a mechanized Titan on the island. This could likely be Mechagodzilla due to Warner Brothers having the rights to him in Ready Player One, perhaps Mecha King Ghidorah judging by the post-credits scene, which I'll get to in a bit, or maybe Mechanicong, who knows. The same article also mentions past attempts to make artificial/organic titans, which could be a reference to Biollante. There is also mentioning of kaiju waste being used as fertilizer like in Pacific Rim. There's another Mothra egg out there according to an article by Steve Martin, which of course is named after Raymond Burr's character in the US re-edit of the original Godzilla. The first credit sequence is reminiscent to the opening credits of Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island. And all of this is happening while Serge Tankian's cover of Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla plays. As for the rolling credits, Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah are credited as themselves. Uncut versions of the Godzilla Mothra themes play, and the film is in memory of Yoshimitsu Banno and Haruo Nakajima. Now for the post-credits. The book Brave New World is mentioned, which according to D-Man is a terrible book. I wouldn't know since I never read it, and I'll take his word for it. In this scene, we see Jonah Allen and his crew obtaining the severed left head of Ghidorah from the battle in Mexico. Now for some other stuff. Godzilla King of the Monsters technically marks the first Godzilla film in this new Reiwa era. The title is a reference to the US re-edit of the original Godzilla titled Godzilla King of the Monsters. The working title for this film was Fathom, like the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, one of the films that inspired the original Godzilla. The clip you see in the first trailer where Madison tries to reach Monarch is cut from the film. The Ghidorah theme in this film has motifs similar to that of the title themes from King Kong vs. Godzilla and Terror of Mechagodzilla. This movie has the same monster lineup as Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, and finally, this film was released on Akira Fukubi's birthday, May 31st. Geez, Michael Dougherty really went all out in this film. And I'm sure there are plenty more D-Man and I missed, but that's pretty much all we could dig up. Feel free to comment anything you notice, and if you haven't watched the first part on D-Man 1954's channel, what are you doing? Should've watched that one first, you fool. Anyway, that's it for this video. I would like to give a very special thank you to D-Man 1954 for being a part of this collaboration. And as always, feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys later.